Whenever I think about vulnerability or the lack thereof there is, I always think about what benefit is that really doing for us, so I don't know how to sit. I had a hard time finding an angle, but I like how this piece of grass is right there, and I like how you can see grass, period. But what is lack of vulnerability really doing for us? Sorry, it's a helicopter. But when I really think about it, what is withholding myself? Or what do we get from withholding the essence, the true essence of who we are? What do we get from withholding honesty and authenticity from other people? What do we get from withholding who we really are from everyone else? I'm not saying we have to just approach people and tell them all our deepest, darkest secrets, but it's why hide in plain sight when we all feel the same things in most of the same places? We live in the same world, we live in the same universe, we all share the same fears. All of us are passionate about a lot of the same things. So I'm gonna ask the question again, what are we really getting out of not being authentic? Sorry, it's another gnat to my face. But I'm apologizing to y'all. Shit, I'm the one in the grass. But what do we get from withholding ourselves from other people? When I was a little bit younger, I used to think from the perspective of, oh, no one deserves me. I'm gonna just, keep myself all to myself and not tell anyone certain things and reserve myself for people that truly care about me and to be private. And it's just in the effort I spent withholding vulnerability was the time that I've desired the most company. I felt my loneliness. I'm gonna start killing y'all. I'm trying to be nice because it's y'all crib. I'm gonna start smacking. Okay. And withholding all that vulnerability in myself from other people out of the fear of heartbreak and disappointment and just overall being hurt, that's when I yearned and desired the most connection. And it's whenever people just feel I'm gonna reserve myself for people that really care about me, or hope nobody can see my thumb, but I'm gonna reserve myself for people that really care about me and this and that. It's just but you're lonely. You're not even lonely in the way where you're alone, but you're lonely where you genuinely do feel alone. You feel isolated from other people. And that's why I feel people think that you have to be physically alone to truly feel isolated. When you go throughout your entire day withholding the true elements of who you are, and just like I said in my authenticity video, holding your breath, that's when you feel the most isolated. That's when you feel the most misunderstood. You're not giving people the opportunity to you're not giving people the opportunity to see you for what you are. We always have this fear that we aren't going to be accepted and we're going to be too much for someone, or rejection. I used to like just avoid vulnerability because I had this fear that I was going to disappoint the person because I wasn't going to live up to this idea that they have of me. And and that's not my responsibility. And disappointing people that had displaced expectations on you is not fair to you anyway. You know? And in disappointing those people that placed those unbeknownst expectations on you, they deserve to be disappointed. The being disappointed isn't really much of your responsibility. It's theirs. And that's okay. It's like we learn to withhold like vulnerability from when we were like a child, when the honesty that we presented to adults, the same adults that told us, oh, be honest, I'm not going to be mad at you, and then you were immediately met with consequences for said honesty. We've learned to withhold vulnerability since then. And then we experience being picked on in school for showing up as we are and not showing up in a costume. And then we grow up to be emotionally and creatively congested beings that have no outlet to express said vulnerability. Or we go through like ego deaths and identity crisis every 3 to 5 business days because we spend so much time withholding vulnerability from everyone else that we aren't really much vulnerable with ourselves. That's exactly where I was. I thought in protecting myself by restricting vulnerability that I was really protecting myself and I was saving myself the heartbreak, but I never felt so disconnected to myself in my life. I felt so emotionally disconnected from myself. I felt like a stranger in my own body. I felt spiritually homeless, you know? I felt like I haven't really lived and took up space in my own body because I wasn't allowing myself take up space anywhere else. I was genuinely like condensing myself to the smallest thing possible out of false consideration for what the fuck I don't know. There was like one year where I went like months, almost an entire year without crying. And it's because every time that I felt the urge to cry, I punished myself for it. And I said, no, we don't do that. We don't allow ourselves to cry. Crying is weakness. We don't shed tears. And then one day, I don't know what happened, but something made me cry, and I cried. I cried so much that day. I placed so much harm on myself and was so abusive and violent with myself because I didn't want to be vulnerable with the outside world, let alone I didn't even want to be vulnerable to myself. I spent all that time hiding from everyone else that I was also hiding from myself. It was so counterproductive too. And it wasn't until, like, you know, me just reflecting and going through introspection and discussing these things in therapy, or I was just like, why would I ever do that to myself? And what sucks is that we live in a world that believes that vulnerability is what makes you weak. And I don't get that. Why would vulnerability make you weak? Why would showing up as who you are make you weak? Whenever people hear the word vulnerability, they automatically interpret like crying in someone's arms and telling them your deepest, darkest secrets and just being like an emotional like puddle of a mess. Vulnerability can simply just someone asking you, how are you doing today? And you say, I'm not doing well. Vulnerability could like simply just telling someone, you make me very happy. I appreciate your friendship. I don't fucking know. I'm getting like tore up in this grass. I might not even post this because I've been fighting bugs the entire video. But bro, like, I'm in the grass, so I don't really expect nothing less. But and then we're the same people that holler about mental health awareness and allowing space and depression, isolation, the loneliness epidemic. I wonder the fuck why. No one wants. Every day is Halloween in this bitch. We're all in this big ass costume party. And if you don't show up in a mask, you're not permitted in. To be yourself is to be so firm and to be so strong, because you're allowing people to take you as you are or to reject you. You're allowing people to have opinions on you. People are gonna have opinions on you regardless. So I really don't know why the fuck you're withholding vulnerability. People aren't gonna perceive you any less. I'm just being honest with you. People aren't gonna perceive you any less. People are gonna perceive you regardless. So like withholding this vulnerability and thinking that you're doing something by not being yourself, babe, it's not doing what you think that it's doing. I'm sorry to tell you that. Being vulnerable, showing up as yourself and saying the things that you want to say and being honest about the things that you want and being open, what is there to lose in that besides rejection? No one can make you feel stupid unless you allow them to make you feel that way. People are always going to aim to make you feel small and stupid. Those are the same people that were also made to feel small and stupid. So of course they're going to also project that idea onto you. We all walk around not being vulnerable and withholding vulnerability, thinking that it's going to make us seem big and strong and no one can hurt us and what's the word? indestructible. Y'all are the most sensitive beings ever. Y'all are gentle giants. And y'all are as fragile as fine china. Wind could break you if it blew too hard. In other words, you're waiting. You're like a dam withholding water. You're just waiting for the opportunity to just let yourself go. I was my weakest when I thought I was my strongest. And I am my strongest when I believe I'm my weakest. I still have like a lot of unlearning to do and steps to make towards being more vulnerable, as in being honest when something hurts my feelings, or being vocal about the things that I want and being vocal about my boundaries and putting bass in my voice and using a voice that I was blessed to use. No one can ever make you feel stupid for being vulnerable. Like, people that make fun of you when you're just like being soft and you're not being fucking hard body, they think that's the weakest shit ever. It makes no sense. The most sensitive people that I've met are the strongest people I've met. They truly don't play about their fucking feelings, and I respect the fuck out of that. The most sensitive people that I met feel like that they aren't sensitive people or that they aren't empathetic because they have the most strongest boundaries, and they are the best communicators because they say exactly what they mean, how they mean. Those are the best people to even communicate with, because there's nothing that you have to even too much like be left in the dark about. You're going to know, and it's not overwhelming either. Vulnerability is not as overwhelming as we make it seem. At least to me, it's not. I used to be so overwhelmed with just having like a moment with someone. What was I overwhelmed for? I don't even fucking know, to be honest. I guess overwhelmed because I was trying to let someone see me for what I was and not for this image that I project. And that was the moment that they could decide to accept me or reject me. But irregardless, any moment that I've had with someone, I don't regret it. I'm allowed to be myself. I'm allowed to show up as myself. And if you take me as I am, then okay. If you don't, then that's also okay. Get the fuck out the way. But shaming each other for presenting vulnerability has got to be the oddest shit I've ever seen. Because then you guys are the same people that want to talk about why it's so difficult to date and how you feel so lonely and shit. Bitch, you can't even be yourself for real. So what the fuck you mean? Like, of course dating is gonna be hard. You're not showing up as yourself and you're playing this big ass game of pretend. You're playing as someone else. You're being an actor or an actress. Going through life thinking that to protect yourself, you have to just minimize your sensitivity and vulnerability and connection to the world has got to be like the biggest scam of it all. The biggest scam. You are at your weakest when you have so much shit to fucking hide. And again, I'm not saying like you gotta fucking like spill your deepest, darkest secrets to people, but fuck are you being an actor or an actress for and you're not going to win an Oscar for it? You're not even good at it. You're not getting no Emmys. You're not getting no golden Hollywood star. You're like a fucking clown.